Have you ever wished you could go back in time and be a business magnate of the 19th century? Well, with Rise of Industry, a fresh off the boat transport management game, you'll get your chance. The game is still in early access as February 2018, so a lot of features might change and be added if you get to see these videos in the months or years following the release. While there is a career mode available, it is not per se one with specific goals in mind. You start off in a randomly generated world with a certain amount of funds, and you have to start off your business trying to find the best deals and completing the best trades possible. First, you must go through every cities, locate where the good resources are available, and then struck a deal to be able to build in the district. The building system in this game is divided in 4 main categories. You have the gathering buildings that, as the name implies, are mainly focused on harvesting primary resources like water, iron, and coal. There are also farms that grow basic needs and host a variety of animals, giving similarly a basic constituency for a solid industry. Because the third category is industrial buildings. From smelters to carpenter and food processing factories, we have the most exciting category, in my opinion, in the game, allowing us with a single building to transform basic resources into something slightly less basic, and then with another single building of exactly the same kind but with a different upgrade, modify that slightly less basic resource into something even less slightly basic, which is worth a lot of money. And finally, we have some buildings that offers different means of transportations for merchandise from points to points, which opens up a whole different facet on the game. So now building up your industry is quite straightforward and simple. You get a basic cookbook that shows every recipe available, and then you can set up either building some wood industry or trying to gather some fish or farming that you'll be able to transform the goods further and further until you can sell them at high prices. The design is very simple at that level, as each gathering and harvesting building have a very straightforward function, and we get into the third category, which completely reverses the trend, and each buildings have multiple facets that can be exploited with primary goods and then transform goods again to recycle them into something greater. The basic transportation in this game is simple, as from each building you can send some trucks to other buildings delivering your goods, and from the factories directly to some farmer markets or to some home hardware stores, and from where you can sell them. The complexity arises when you only have the resources in one primary sector, and in another city you have the center to sell them. You can either set up very long trade routes for the trucks or use the fourth category, where it opens up multiple shipping options. You have on your hands the availability of using trains, zeppelins, ships. Everything is there to allow you to simplify the transportation of merchandise, which I feel like should be simpler than it is right now in the game, because the way you set up the transportation needs a lot of micromanagement into acquiring, transporting, delivering resources. Whereas, for example, if you set up a truck shop, you can automatically gather resources from the local area around the shop, which will send truck to the appropriate buildings and bring back the created goods. You cannot do the same for the deliveries, so you need to set up each delivery individually. Whereas at the start of the game it is quite simple and you are aware of the complications, specific routes that you'll need to be taken with your goods, it quickly becomes a bothering and annoying facet of the game for the transportation, that you have to manually allocate trucks towards specific shops to bring the goods, and very often each different goods have a slightly different required time for creation, which often result in factories being inefficient because either they don't have enough basic goods for creating their end product, Or on the other end, your primary goods are being delivered too quickly and you have some gathering buildings that just sit idle doing absolutely nothing because there's nowhere to deliver your goods. The transport system can get quickly overrun with goods, fill up building slots, and really bogs down the game when it comes to enjoyment of not having to micromanage the interface of these buildings. But that is really a small complaint I have right now with Tidal. It's still very early access, so there's always occasion for a great modification or a new way to rethink the way the goods are being distributed. But as it stands right now, this is the main reason I'm not able to play more than a few hours on a map, because you quickly get to the point where it becomes too cumbersome to set up the routes. It still offers a good challenge though, while you are setting up your trading routes and empires at the start. It takes some good element from other titles like Transport Tycoon and Symmetrans, relatively speaking, to the network interface you need to set up. And right now, there is also a question of variety of goods, somewhat limited. Additionally to that, I have found that for unlocking new buildings, you need to gather experience. While, for example, the gathering and farms are very easy to get the experience required to complete and unlock new buildings, so is transportation. But when it comes to the fun part with the factories, it is a very slow, grueling march to unlock different features, which in my own case, in my own game, forced me into limiting me very highly on the goods I could produce and deploy in a reasonable time frame. But the game is not only negative. We still have to see the positive light of it. The graphics are beautiful looking here. We have a type of pixel art which match very well with the type of Lego-ish building blocks type of thing for a sandbox. I do find it quite enjoyable and nice to look at. The game is definitely not a strain to your eye. The somewhat adequate variety of buildings is enjoyable to look at. The music is also very nice and relaxing. A very good choice for a tycoon game that you can spend hours upon hours until the sun rises. All in all, Rise of Industry, as it stands, is a decent contender for a great title of tycoonish game for transportation as well as building up your industry. Might even become one day the gold standard that Transport Tycoon Deluxe is, and that Capitalism 1 and 2 and stuff like that were back in the days. But currently, with what we've seen available in the early access, I cannot make such a claim. So we will definitely need to wait, hopefully not too long, to see a great increase in the quality of the product. But don't get me wrong, the game is still a very decent title for what it is, and has been quite enjoyable for me, even though I found it slightly too repetitive by parts. Hopefully you've enjoyed this quick review of Rise of Industry, and if you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.